Okay, so I'm hoping that I can hear myself or people can hear me. If you can hear me, then just write message in the comments. If I'm too quiet or you need me to speak up, then write in the comments as well. Actually, don't know how this super chat thing works. Okay. Okay. So I actually said I was going to start at 1:15, but I'll just before I start, I'll just explain what it is I was planning to do. So I thought that I would do a quick-ish video about high-order functions because I think they're really, really important. And if you're learning JavaScript, TypeScript, then they're fundamental to working with asynchronous callbacks and so on, and passing around functions gives you the opportunity to have closure as well and to capture data. So it's very, very beneficial. What I would advise would be to go and pull this or clone this repository, and then you can follow along. So I'll be pushing this code every now and again during this video, so as you can actually see it. Just 1 second. A bit better. Okay, so just give it another minute or so. This is the project which I've got working, and this is the one that I want here. Look at this. We can say node-mon JS there. I'll refresh every single time we change. Change this. Should work. Hello world. Come here. It should refresh itself and run. It was, sorry, it was TS. Watch. That's what we want. Now they should say, yeah, it's good. So this is now our interactive console as such. Okay, good. So let's explain what high order functions are, shall we? So if we know what, let's put this down. So we've got a few ways of creating. We've got a few ways of creating a method. We can use the normal way of doing it by saying function, method name, okay, and so on. There we have our function, and we can call my method name, and in here we can then say that it says hello in my method name. Save this, and we see that it's being called, and we're actually defining a function within inside of another function as well. So they're completely flexible about when you can define functions. Now this essentially in TypeScript is a method as part of a class. So we're going to skip over that. That's not a high order function. Okay, a high order function is something that you can pass to another function. So let's then say my high order function here, and this will take a string and it will return a string, okay? And we'll do nothing but return this string that is given to us. And here it's going to say map, for example, and it's going to be a high order function. And okay, we need to essentially, to do this, we've got to there. We want to use a type definition. Okay, so handler, we'll call this. Whoops. And we're going to call this type a high order function handler, and that's taking a string and giving a string back. All right, and we're going to put this here. So as long as we get a high order function handler here, we can then say return app, and then what do we call it? And then we take our string name. So yeah, we'll call it B here to be clearer. Take B, and now what we've got to do in here is we've got to say my high order function string. Okay, and we can say here, we can then copy this as the method that we're going to call. All right. So this is essentially then going to return us my string. Let's close this. It's going to return us my string, and we're going to then console out my string equals my string. Let's have a look. Okay, you see, so we've got hello in method name. Let's return that. So we've got my string, my high function string, my order function string, yeah? And then this, so what's happening here is we're passing this string into my method name here. So this is B, and then we're calling this high order function handler and passing the parameter which we received into this map function, okay, which then in turn returns the string that's got, and we need to define here that this actually returns a string. So yeah, this is how it works. Now we could also, in this, we could say in our class, we could remove this, put this here, remove that, and remove this. So now we'll put the methods as class methods. We can say this dot method name. We can say this dot high order function. So now we're calling a class function, a class method, shall I call it? Okay, and we're passing that as a reference, and we're still getting the same result. Okay, so how does this make it usable? Well, it's really, really fantastically usable. All right, because if we take this high order function away, and we'll say local scope function, and let's now define this local scope function. So local scope function equals, it's here, this needs to take a string and it needs to return a string. Okay, it has to comply to the high order function, this here, it needs to comply to that, and we'll return C. But because we can capture D, for example, and we can say my global string, yeah, we can capture this here, and we can then say D plus C, and when we come here, so we'll pass my high order function, yeah, my global string has been suffixed with this string. Okay, So now we come over to here, you'll see my string. Where's my string being called? There. Let's just get rid of that. So now you see my global string has been suffixed with this string. Okay. So you can see that it's captured scope within inside of this method, and we've passed this method into another method. Now, let's say, for example, that let's clean that up. Annoying me. Okay, so let's come to all right. So let's think of another thing that you can do. So we've got our application here, and we've got a setup, and we've got our high order functions. Let's remove these again. Okay, we need my method name. Okay, so it's not always that you want to use a function within inside of another function, right? So we'll come to my my app that I've written, all right, and where we're actually calling it, and we'll say run, and what we'll do is we'll allow run to take the callback, all right, and what this callback will be is so application on run handler, yeah, and this equals it can take a a window we don't want. What we want to happen is when we call this yeah, when we call it, we want to have the application, for example, back again as a parameter being called. So what we define here is our global application handler, all right? And this then takes an app, and that's got an application, and it gives nothing. Whoops. It returns nothing. And we can say here application has app. Okay. So now here, let's have a look what it is that we want. So this is then a application on run handler. All right. Come back to this here, and we need to pass our global handler here as well, so it works. That's not assigned to application run handler. What did we say run handler had to have? Oh, that's right, sorry. And this then takes its application, and it returns void. Okay, so this now should all work, which is fine. So now, when this run method gets called, we can do the work that we want to do, right? And then we can call this callback and say this, right? And we come to here, and you see application has ran. So we come back to our application now, and we can. So let's give it a state of string, and it's got nothing at all. So sleeping. All right. Now we can set this dot state equals running. Right. But it can be maybe that this code, it doesn't work properly, right? And it needs to exit, and you want someone else to be informed if it's running. So here now, if we can say switch app, whoops, state case running. Here we've got case sleeping. And then default is then going to be throw new error. This is not a valid state. All right. So we can come here and now is running. It's sleeping. So now every single time, we don't need to worry about this method can be defined somewhere else, right? And it just wants to know what's happening when the application state changes. All right. So if anything, this is global application state changed handler. That's what we put in here. We come here because that now makes a lot more sense. Application state change handler. So let's move this. Come down here, change this as well. All right. So every single time the application state has changed, then we're going to call it. And let's remove this. This is now of no use. So now come back to here. Okay, so on a higher level now, because high order functions are supposed to be thought of at more of a higher level. You see now here that we create a new application and we say, hey, set up the application. And we can also say in here, for example, that here, this dot state equals initializing. Yeah. And let's give it a constructor. And let's put this in here. And we'll say state changed handler. So slowly we're actually giving reason to why you would do this. And then we'd say here state changed handler. Here. So now we can remove this because it's kind of not necessary anymore. And we can say this dot state changed handler here, which means that we can call the state here as well. Every single time the state changes, we can call it. All right. And here it's initializing. So now we come back to our application. This is now broken, but that's okay because we can paste this in here. So now when setup is run, we know that this gets called, and we've got another case now which we can listen to. Is then let's spell it correctly. Initializing. Okay. So now we can then application is initializing. So during setup, application is initializing. So we're passing, okay, just to scroll back to what we're doing here. We're passing a function to another function that can be called, all right, which can capture other information. And this capturing is the key thing here of this example. But high order functions don't necessarily capture stuff because that's kind of, yeah, I'm not going to get into that. So let's come back to our, let's run our application now. As you can see here, application is run, application is initializing, application has run. Where is application has ran? Sorry, let's get rid of that. That makes a little bit more sense now. Application is initializing, application is running. And then afterwards, we can then we can say application sleep, and in here we come and we make our state changed. We call this again. Now we come here, oh, running, change our state to say sleeping again, right? You can see here we're getting the different states by passing a method, and this application has absolutely no idea where this application state changed handler method is coming from. It's just saved it within inside of itself to be used at a later stage. If you understand what I mean. Okay, so I hope this is kind of clear to you now. Is what a high order function is. It's a function that can be passed to another function. In this situation, we're passing it to through a constructor, but that doesn't matter. It can be passed to setup or to run or to sleep and so on. Now, we can also kind of give it another method. So to say, we can say state changed, right? And here we're gonna give it another callback here. This time we're not going to yeah. Okay, this is the global one, all right, but this is the method that we're going to call every single time it gets changed. No, that needs to just change very, very slightly. So on state changed. So this is I'm gonna create two, all right? And this is then on state changed event handler, and on state changed event handler, and this is going to be optional, all right? So we don't have to have it. Then we're going to say here on state equals callback. So now every single time the state changes, we're then going to say if event handler is not equal to undefined. In actual fact, we can say it's equal to undefined and just return, and we don't have to worry about that curly brace. We can say here. All right, so we can do this. It seems like we're duplicating our code here, but kind of not correct. Not like that. So this is then the main constructor one, which is going to be called, and this is then the custom one that can be updated if and when you want to update it. All right, and actually we'll create this as as an array of them, right? Handlers will do, and this is not optional anymore. This is then we'll then create this and this now, because we want to have more than one. All right, so let's come here, handlers, and we'll say push callback. Now we're putting it onto the list. All right. Now say handler's length is length is equal to 0 here, and now we're doing a high order function with inside of a high order well, now we're using a high order function to call a high order function. So handlers, and here's another high order function then. So handler and handler this. Okay, so we've just used another high order function with inside of our example, and this here is another high order function. Okay, is for each. So we're iterating through all of the event handlers, which now means that so now means that prior to our application started, our application setup, we can say what did I just call the method? Where's the error here? Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, so this is then call handlers, and we'll call it the method here call handlers. All at once. We copy it here and paste it there. Call handlers. Change that to an S. That's better, and then essentially we can put that there as well, and we only have to really call it handlers. Here we can remove this now, and this now. Okay, so that's a lot cleaner. Now we're utilizing that it's going to have a callback in the constructor, a high order function, let's call it, stroke callback in the constructor, which is going to be called at every single state change of the application. And then also you can register multiple state change handlers, which are also going to be called every single time the application state changes. All right. So now here we can, I don't like the name of it. I don't like on state. So add, like that better. Add on state changed handler. Right, I like that a lot better now. So add on state change handler, and now we can add here, and we can say application. This now gives us opportunity to put this into here, right? So we'll let's call this here with application. So this is going to get called so many times now because we're calling our global function here as well. So let's have a look what's going on here. You see, app is initialized, and app is initialized, running, sleeping, sleep. All right, that's because this one's getting called more than once. So let's just to avoid any confusion, let's just say application state is this, and we'll move this here, and then come back. Now we see application is initializing, running, sleeping. Right. So this is console.log, and this is then, and just to show you that we've got closure in here as well. Number of handlers equals 0. Okay, and every single time this handler gets called, number of called handlers, we're going to say number of called handlers dot plus equals 1. We can come here. We can call this as many times as we want, right? and now come here and you'll see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we can add as many as these handlers as we want, and it's no problem. And we could also, for example, take this and pop that in there, pop that in there, pop that in there, and this will work exactly the same, right? So this is a high order function. Now, I hope everyone's understanding this. And if we come back to the for each function, right? Where do I use it? Call handlers, right? This for each function. Well, this here is a high order function. So let's have a look at this, shall we? Whoops. What does it say here? There we go. So you're going to give it to me. Okay, so now you can see all of the different types of handlers here. All right, where are they? So here you see function callback function performs a specific action for each element in an array. Callback function, a function that accepts up to 3 arguments, for which calls the callbacks function one time for each element in the array. You see, so an object to which this keyword can refer in the, okay, that's just object binding, okay, but that's something different. So here we can see our function that is getting called every single time for each element. Map, so this is now, we're talking about generics here, but map is then taking the value and returning the new type of value in return. So you're mapping it from one type to another type, and so on, and that's then giving an array back. So you can, these will work on arrays. Filter as well, here has another filter function. So if we then take where you can take like an array of numbers, and then it will get called every single time. It will iterate through all of the numbers, and this high order function will then get called. You can also return high order functions. So yeah, you can return a high order function. So you could say here, yeah, well, it doesn't stop you. You can come here and so get handler index, all right, and this will then so this can be undefined also, all right. So we can say here this dot on state handlers index of, well, essentially we can just say this, and this will return, if that index is not there, then it will return undefined. So we can get a handler, we can return a handler. This one here, run does not exist on, oh, what have I done wrong here then? Where have I got a syntax error? I've done something wrong here. What did I just do wrong? Okay, I've definitely found that's all correct. Handlers callback here, yes, get handler. It must be something with this. Handlers. Function placement is missing or not immediately for owner declaration. What have I done wrong here? Oh, look there, call handlers. Let's put it back again. Now we can come here and we'll say that we want handler 2 equals application get handler at, we'll say 2, all right? And if handler 2 is not equal to undefined, then we can say handler 2, oh dear, handler 2 application. We can call it here. And yeah, this is not going to do anything magical, but this essentially is handler 2. Okay, we can say handler 2 is being called, and we put that's application. You can see handler 2 is being called. All right, so we can retrieve a callback, and if we look at the type here as well, you'll see that it's of application state changed handler. So you can pass a function into another function, and you can pass another function into a function and return another function. So you can map a function into another function in essence. All right, so it's a nice easy way of working with things. But if you can get your mind round high order functions, then you can work with things so much easier. Like we could let's create another application. Okay, let's say mapped application state handler, and this will then take this is then going to take an application and take a, yeah, we can, yeah, this is good. So it can take a state, for example, and it can give an application in return, right? So let's change, so let's say change application state. Oh dear. What do we want? So we want to take a function which gets the application. Oh no. Okay. This here will then just return a. We'll just call it a maps application state change handler. Oops. And this needs to return. Whoops. Okay, this needs to return method, which was then s. And say this dot. So we can say, we can copy this. We can say new app equals new application, and this dot and here we can t equals this console log application. Oh, that's it. We want to take an app, right? So we're going to take an app, and it's going to map it. This is going to then turn an application, and that's going to return a mapped application handler, right? Which is then going to give back the application. So yeah, somehow this is going to work. All right, so which means now we can say app. Now we've got our app, and we need to return our new app and state equals this, right? So now we've got our state. Oh dear. Yeah. Okay, so it'll only make sense at this end. So let's change application state. So we need to pass it a handler first of all, and we can do this like so. And this then needs to, so we then need to return. We've got so it's Swift. Okay, so now we need to return there we go. And what's this problem? I'm getting kind of a little bit lost here. Okay, we need to give back gives an application, and that returns an application. So that was yeah, okay. Getting lost here myself. All right, so this first parameter needs to have, it doesn't have any arguments, but it gives back an application. Right? That's what the first one does. So we need to turn application, and this then needs to be application. That's all fine. And inside of this, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now we're changing the state of the application, and we'll watch to see whether, whoops, and so now we need a method here to say update state. This is then here. This dot state is that. Let's get rid of that. Every single time state is updated, that's going to happen. So we can now say update state, and this is then, what was it? Initializing. Okay, so now we can remove this, and we've reduced the code down even more. Once it's finished, you'll see what's happening. Okay, now we can go there. It states. It's fine. Yep, update states, call handlers, that's fine. Update states. This is then. state. This is then sleeping. We can remove this as well. So now we're only calling one method. Every single time the state changes, we're calling one method, and we're letting this handle the calling of the handlers. All right. So back to here, and now we can see that our state change handler is being used a little bit more now. So let's kind of reduce this down. Reduce this down. See what it does now. Okay. So change application states should be takes. We want to give it the states. Yeah, that's right. When we call this, we want the state so we can update the states. That's right. So this essentially needs to be. This needs to be the states. Okay. If we call this state, so we're giving it the states. That's then returning. Kind of calling itself here, and that's all working fine. So now this should be not correct, right? So change application state. So now we need to have a method that takes an S and does this, and this is then application. It needs to return application. I've done it again now. Should have left it the way it was. Needs to, yeah, okay. So it needs to return the state and but it's not assignable to. I always forget whether it's that one or that one. It needs to return. Oh dear, David. That's what it needs to return. That's what it needs to return. Okay, that's fine. This function declared type is neither not nor must return a value. Ah, yeah, of course. H is not assignable to. I didn't say it's always the easiest thing to do. It's not assignable to type application. done something wrong here. Well, property state's not missing because it is there. Let's see what you're coming up as. Yeah, that's correct. So we can do that. Oh, this is annoying me now. Needs to return state, string, and application. Yeah, we've done this. So return state, string, application. Type of application is not assignable to application. All right. Yeah, I'm getting confused about it. We're going to leave that bit because that's confusing me. And I think I'm going to leave it as it is because it was working. And I'll try and fix that in a minute. But I hope that you're understanding this. I'm getting lost on this because I'm having to do this whilst I'm live and so on. And I'll just sit here and think for a second about it, what I'm done wrong. But this one here is okay. Change handler, yeah, that one's fine. So yeah. Okay. Sometimes you just have to slow down. So we've got our app equals this and this dot. Oops. We've got our app and we've got that there, right? There we go. Look, it's working now. So now we need to return. There we go. That's better. Look, sometimes with the whole point of this is that this application class gives it the opportunity for someone else to define the state that they want it to be, and then they will then return the application back again, all right? Which then gives it here. So essentially this app here is this here. And once we do that, we will then return the handler again, and so to return it back, all right? So we'll, and that would need to be set, oops, update state here. And then that returns it back, updating state. So we've remapped the states. It's a little bit of a redundant thing to do, but it's just a way of passing in a high order function to then return a high order function as well. All right. So it normally works better when you're taking like an array of something and you want to convert it to something else, another array of something else, and then return it as well. right? You wouldn't necessarily normally give okay, when would you also give a disposable? You would give like a disposable function back when you want to. Okay, you would essentially have like dispose if you've used like RxJS and so on. So you would give this, you would return here this then returns this. So here we could say handlers, call handlers clear. So now our dispose method is then going to, what is it then? Is it clear? I forget sometimes. Confuse me again now. Okay, yeah, we need to use a high order function to do this. So we can say state change handlers for each handler in here, and we can say and then we've got index, and then you say this state change handlers index, and then deletes. No, oops, there we go. So this should now we can say count of handlers this dot state change. Here. Okay. So now we come to here and we can say application dispose. This is then going to give us our dispose method. And then we can then dispose. All right, so we can see here now that count of handlers is 0. So we'll, before we run that, we can then see count of handlers 0. Because they are okay. Change, add there. So we calling it that's okay. State change handlers is not updating. So the constructor's getting called there. And that's probably resetting it, that's why. Okay, so count of handler is 1, count of handler is 1. So that's Okay, that obviously didn't remove it. That's bugging me now. That's nice. I don't normally do this. Where in Swift you have then remove all. Okay, well, so that's logs. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. All right, that's something for everyone to then do. I'll watch the football in a minute because you got them playing. So, right, I hope it's been somehow informative. Let's just save this all before I forget. Save in. Anyway, so pass some time, and I hope possibly someone's learned something. If you didn't, well, then you didn't learn anything. But I think there was enough content there to learn something, and so on. So anyway, I wish you a nice day. Thanks very much for watching. Yeah, let's turn this off now.